blows my mind.
Oh yeah, with the Saudis, the Mayo Clinic and everything. I mean, with those doctors, the
And
way...
they really have at the Mayo Clinic, well, I've never been up there, so I don't know, like...
Oh, the Mayo Clinic, it's meant to the USA and everything else, when in reality, with the patents on their drugs and whatnot, people went into their patents and whatnot, and all the patents they per se have, they're one of the only facilities in the entire country that basically has made a database for everybody all the way back to their founders, all the way forward and everything. So they have all of this information. And like the thing about the Mayo Clinic is, when you go there, they want all your records from every other medical facility, every single one of them. So they have them all. But you go to another medical facility and you request the Mayo Clinic documents, and the Mayo Clinic turns around and says, fuck you, basically, we're not giving you your documents, we're going to run you in circles and everything else, even though that is the right of every single patient when they go to another hospital. Mayo Clinic doesn't like to follow the federal law about that. You know, they cater to the Saudis and all the Middle Easterners with 747 jets and everything to use the runway that was built between IBM and IBM being that number one most productive site in both manufacturing and in the programming and everything with that runway, and then Northwest using it as a training runway between Minneapolis and whatnot, because it's only a 17-minute flight between Rochester and Minneapolis. I mean, that's the whole thing off that airport. It's such, you know, basically you can, you know, and with their TSA in that location and whatnot, that's a complete joke as far as that thing goes, as far as some of that TSA down there, half the time is people just walk in and out and go wherever. I mean, that right there could be a security breach left and right in that airport, and let alone they have it as an international one.
I've never been to Rochester, so I don't even know where it's located here.
Oh, it's southwest Minneapolis, where they need, you know, the interstate for 70, well, 60, it's 65 on 52 down there, so it takes about 50 minutes to drive up between Rochester and Minneapolis to get up to Minneapolis and everything, because they're already 65 miles per hour, so they basically, they cater to the Mayo Clinic and everything, they basically made an interstate out of the thing.
Huh. I had no idea. I don't drive that often, so. Wow.
And, you know, in this last presidential election, did you watch as far as how the state voted and whatnot? The only counties that did not vote for Trump were Hennepin County, Ramsey County, or St. Paul, Hennepin County, Minneapolis and suburbs, and Olmsted County, which is Rochester. Everybody else in the state went Republican.
Really? I didn't know
On
that.
the last election. Oh yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. Wow, that's really something.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing?
Republican.
What?
I didn't know that the state was that conservative. I always pegged it.
Well, the thing about Rochester, Minnesota, with having all those Republican presidents coming in there and everything else, to the Mayo Clinic and whatnot, and being completely loyal. And Ronald Reagan's favorite food, I think they said at the one hotel, the Kayla Hotel or whatnot, was mac and cheese. He'd order that. And,
Oh, yeah?
And, you know, all the presidents, as far as what they wanted and everything, to go with staff and say, yeah, this president got this president got that. So, you know, as far as the Kayla Hotel and everything in Rochester, you know, presidents have been going in for a long time in the Republican Party, the Democrats here and there, but the reality is Rochester used to be probably 80% Republican at one point. And so with it having that many Republicans in there, it was a Republican stronghold. And so it was completely surprising for Olmsted County to turn around and go after Hillary Clinton, when in reality, you know, with the Saudis and everything else, I'm sure that would piss Trump off beyond comprehension as far as that county going and turning around and profiting off the Middle East left and right, and everybody else that are flying 747s and did the damn thing. Amazing, isn't it?
It's a lot to hear, certainly.
Now, if I was to leave here, no matter the circumstance or whatnot, where you guys, you would consider that longer discharge, even though I say that I don't feel safe here?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Do I
Because
consider?
I mean, because nobody is technically bound here. Like everybody here is here by their own will, whether they're on probation or not. They can leave whenever they want. We can't make you stay.
But the situation is that I didn't feel safe to stay here for now and set a couple of months somewhere else as far as, so things can be reviewed as far as this retaliation and whatnot by your administration and whatnot. So we need to come back in a couple of days if I'm not feeling safe, because the thing is, I do not need retaliation any further. And so hopefully your corporate offices can fix it with what Tommy did and with what Charlie did and everything. You know damn well there was retaliation involved, and that's why I left, because I don't want to.
You don't feel safe?
I just don't feel safe.
Sure. I'm not sure how that would fall back. Because you said you're here for, like, you were committed here, essentially?
I wasn't committed here. Not this time. I wasn't committed here.
Oh,
But what
you
happened? What happened? I had a PTSD attack. There was no drugs, no alcohol in my system. With the Mayo Clinic back in January, I was having a PTSD attack. They went and said they were going to try to throw me back on commitment, even though there was no drugs or alcohol involved, and it was a PTSD attack. And the Mayo Clinic, because they didn't want to deal with that PTSD thing, even though it's been fully explained to them that I had PTSD, and they failed to recognize it, and the schizoaffective thing was totally a false diagnosis and whatnot, and they want to say that constantly and throw me on those drugs and everything. In fact, the thing is, they went to the Mayo Clinic when I was on that commitment and everything, over at the CBHH, or Community Behavior Hospital. They went and threw me on Seroquel, which with my HIV medication could have instantly killed me and given me a heart attack. And the Mayo Clinic and that CBHH and everybody that runs the CBHH, they're almost like, so it doesn't matter, we got me off the drug after we realized we made a mistake. But literally, that nurse practitioner issued me that drug without checking with the HIV medication. And then this last time around, they went and issued me another drug. And that drug basically could make me go full-blown AIDS, going from undetectable and having a very high CD4 count to full-blown AIDS, because the Mayo Clinic and the way it wanted to push me around. And I just kind of went along with it. They tried to put me on commitment with Hennepin County and everything. They were going for it. I just said, fine, I'll stay here until I go to rehab. I went to rehab because the Mayo Clinic and the stuff that they were pulling, and, with drugs and everything, they love to pull that psych ward. Those doctors need to really seriously be reevaluated over situations of patients, of whether they should even have MD degrees around.
So you just came here for yourself, correct? Then.
Well, basically, I was down at Oak Ridge down in Rochester over that thing. Basically, when the Mayo Clinic went and said you got to go to rehab, only two that would even talk to them in St. Joe's up here and Oak Ridge down there. Oak Ridge is part of Meridian that has 75% of the methadone that comes in the state like a big monopoly.
Wow.
That's part of.
I didn't know that.
And so they just opened this facility called Oak Ridge, where when they started it was 34 people, and it went all the way to 68. And then you have these two little things called villas and everything. And because of me being HIV positive and gay and everything, basically Steve, the director and everything, said he's not going to the villas. My name is on the list to go over there. And Steve, the director, already down there, went and canceled my name off there because of those two conditions, which is completely discriminatory. Him, Julie, and all the rest. When Julie was confronted about it, she tried to act like, oh, well. I said, Chad and everybody else saw my name on that board, and they tried to say, oh, no, you weren't on there per se, and this and another crap. When I left there, I was the most senior person in that entire facility at 68 that's fully vaccinated with the children and everything else. And I was most senior by 2 weeks. Nobody else was that senior. I had that high seniority. That everybody had been cleared out in all the different situations. Half the towns they send home and everything. They don't send them to a lot. Like, they should be sent to your halfway houses and whatnot. And these other facilities, now they get to go home. I saw an assault on there. Basically, they tried to take this one guy that we found out he had about a third grade reading level. They went and had the sheriff in. They put him in handcuffs, embarrassed him in front of everybody to put him in the car. That's the black man that assaulted him, Joe. Basically assaulted him. I reported this to Julie and everything, and Joe, and you can't believe it. Everybody on that patio turned around and said we didn't see anything at all of what happened. This black man went and assaulted him. Basically, the black man basically, he would run around using the N-word left and right, but the minute somebody said it to him, was the guy went and used it on him, and then apologized about the guy pretty much would kick chairs and do all kinds of shit to this man that had a third grade reading thing. And I found this out because one of the roommates and whatnot, they were rewriting his love letters to his girlfriend and everything. And it was like my princess and this and, and the language that was used. They go, the guy can't have more than third degree reading level. There was another guy that came in there, HCD, and went on the streets and everything, it's fully detectable and everything else. They would move somebody in with him because he's HCD positive and gay and everything. And so they left him vacant for quite some time until his mother and him complained about not having a roommate and just having somebody else gay come along. So they put him in there. No kidding. I mean, the shit. Oh, yeah.
So how did you get into Progress Valley then?
I got in here from Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge basically was sending me up here and everything. Oak Ridge was sending me up here and everything. Basically with them. All of a sudden, Julie all of a sudden goes, well, I spent 6 hours calling all these sober houses and everything, and thinking she magically, what's going to get me in there without having me be able to call and everything. I mean, at first, I had to call Claire Housing, which especially for HID and everything. I've been so long on that waiting list, I have no idea why I can't get into Claire Housing. Basically, it's a Section 8, basically, it's program and everything. This is an HID positive, and since I am on the, SSDI and can pay the 30%, their supposed preferred thing over the GRH housing and everything. I mean, they have a floor that's committed to being sober and clean and everything. The other floors, they basically say we prefer to give them housing and they can do any drug they want to do in the building except for smoking. They can smoke anything else. Claire Housing has this thing that they have this program set up with Minneapolis and everything. Over in Rich Shield went and put in their publication, published everything when they were not supposed to. Over in, not Richfield, but over in, it was their newest facility, basically. It was over west of Minneapolis and whatnot, where that suburb went and published everything and calling them all drug addicts and HIV positive and identified that entire building that's all disabled and whatnot, whether they're GRH or the Section 8 or 42 or something, it's Minnesota calls it or something like that. And then there might be some private pays in there. I don't think there's any private pays there. But all three of those facilities, basically, people that want to be clean and sober, they basically go, well, we'll just be able to, the drug dealers and drug addicts and everything else, and just let them do whatever they want instead of getting people in recovery. I mean, their 3 buildings originally were for recovery, but they turned around and they just basically turned around and said, who cares if the drugs are coming and going in here? We'll just let the people be, so they're down in the streets instead.
This sounds stressful.
Yeah, so, I found a job. I'm supposed to start Thursday, 12:30, for orientation over at Kohl's and everything. So yes, I found a job and everything. I believe I have sober houses and everything lined up and whatnot, so I can move here and not have any retaliation. But right now, I'm thinking I'm going to go to a hotel tonight until things can get addressed Tuesday.
Okay.
Until things can get addressed Tuesday, and those bills can get paid if retaliation or anything else comes back, because this facility basically put me in a situation that I don't feel safe in. Yes, I'm here on my own free will, but at the same time, with the city of Minnesota as a vulnerable adult as well.
Mm-hmm.
What Charlie and Tommy did and everything was completely uncalled for and created this situation, so that's why I'm not feeling safe in anything. Okay. And until I think Jennifer, who is Tanya's boss, can address the situation with Tanya about her problem, that she should have never done and never gone the direction she went. But of course, Tanya, and I complained about that whole issue, a lot of staff and everybody said, Tanya, it's all up to Tanya, all up to Tanya. So the reality is, that's fine, it can be up to Tanya, but I guarantee you what happened there, I will get, compensated in some way because, and then for me going, because of this situation, you better believe, any more retaliation or something happens that I can't get into the sober houses, one of them looks like Friday, the other one looks like next weekend or whatnot, or anything happens that, because I can just see Tanya coming back and throwing restrictions and screwing my interview up and screwing my job opportunity up and screwing everything up for her to come back in here, and get it in her ass that somehow my life's going to become hell until they can move me to whatever frickin' facility they want against my wishes.
Well, I mean, I guess, it's always, I would always advise against leaving, but,
You can.
of course, because I would prefer that you stayed and at least talk to your counselor about it.
But the thing is, Charlie is my counselor, and he's the one that turned around and did the retaliation.
Is there
So
a counselor you feel more comfortable with?
absolutely not at this point.
Okay.
Kristen said you're safe here and everything like this, and I was safe here and everything, and then Tanya and Charlie pulled this crap with this retaliation of all this crap and whatnot, and how much Kristen was trying to work with me and with things, but then all of a sudden they say, well, you need 12 weeks of PTSD and blah, 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 and we can't accommodate that and all kinds of other things. Well, 90% of the people going through PTSD live in other places. They don't live in halfway houses and everything else necessarily. They live in the general population. But the way Charlie and Tanya wanted to play the game, oh no, they go with it. So the thing is, with the PTSD and everything, and the discrimination that came over the PTSD with this facility, Progress Alley and everything, Progress Alley needs to address some of these issues real clearly. If Kristen's supposed to be certified, why can't I work and go all the way through to a certain point and have everything done to a certain point, at least getting the information out there and being able to hand it off to somebody else, their way of dealing with it? No, we're going to throw you to a different facility. And you're a vulnerable adult, and we're going to abuse you and do whatever we want to you, when in reality, supposedly according to the state and everything, that's taken advantage, that is abuse of one form or another, and the reality is they can come to terms that what they did is abuse of a vulnerable adult the last week.
I guess I wasn't here for it.
You may not have been here, but the reality is, they can deal with it. The fact of the matter is, legally and everything, basically in your position with me, you're over me, and I don't feel safe having anybody in this facility sitting over me at this point in stage because of the situation that was created. And if I need to get attorneys involved and everything else, I will get attorneys involved and make Progress Alley really take damages over this situation. So I'm leaving.
Okay, you're taking off.
I'm going to take off to a hotel.